How's it going, everyone? It is time for yet another mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. In this one, we're going to be doing a 5-round mock draft. Now, this one isn't going to include an Aaron Rodgers trade, as I feel like the Aaron Rodgers trade situation has been all we've been talking about as of late. So for this one, we're going to be doing a 5-round mock draft, assuming that the Packers do retain Aaron Rodgers. He comes back for the 2023 season. Now, if you did want to see more mock drafts with a potential Aaron Rodgers trade, just leave that down in the comments below to kind of get a view of what that may look like. The last mock draft I did involve an Aaron Rodgers trade with the New York Jets, who are at pick 13, but there's other options such as the Titans at pick 11, the Panthers at pick 9, Raiders at 7, even the Colts at 4. So if you want to see some of those, just leave that down in the comments below. And if you do happen to be a new viewer on this channel, I do everything Packers, from mock drafts to free agency to the salary cap, everything in between. I do a mock draft pretty much every single week. So if that does interest you and you want to see more of these, just go down and click that subscribe button and then leave a like on the video to support my channel. Also, guys, it is the last day to enter in this Aaron Jones full-size white Eclipse signed helmet. The way to enter in this giveaway is go to pristineauction.com, register on their website using my code BASS, B-A-S. That's at pristineauction.com. I will announce a winner later this week and then get that shipped out ASAP, and we'll have another giveaway starting tomorrow. All right, so before we get into the mock draft, quickly wanted to go over the Packers draft needs. Nothing has really changed since the last mock draft. Obviously, the Packers have a big need at safety, with both Adrian Amos and Rudy Ford being impending free agents. There's also a big need at tight end, Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis impending free agents. They could use a tackle. I could definitely see the Packers drafting a tackle at pick 15. I know it might not be everyone's favorite pick, but if someone like Peter Skoronski falls there, I could definitely see the Packers doing that. They also have a big need at edge, with Rashawn Gary's timetable unknown at this point. They really don't have that much depth at edge, and that showed true late last season. And of course, they could also use a wide receiver with both Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb impending free agents. All right, so without further ado, let's bring up the draft screen here. We have the Green Bay Packers pick at pick 15. We're doing a 5-round draft, and if we enter this draft and get it started, I'm going to watch the first 5 picks go away because I just don't see myself trading into the top 5. So let's let this one more pick of Seattle go here and pause it. And we see Jalen Carter goes to the Bears, pick 1. Will Levis is the first quarterback off the board. Honestly, I don't like it, but I could see the Texans doing that. And then we see Will Anderson going to the Cardinals at 3. I feel like the Cardinals are in a great position. No matter what, they pretty much get one of Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. Even Miles Murphy. One of those 3, they're set, in my opinion. They're in a really good spot. Bryce Young goes pick 4 to the Colts. Tyree Wilson goes over Miles Murphy at pick 5 to the Seahawks. So if Miles Murphy were to fall a few more picks, might be a good idea for the Packers to try to trade up, but I assume he'll go right here, would be my best guess, and he does, to the Detroit Lions. The Lions wouldn't trade with the Packers in that position anyways. Then we have the Las Vegas Raiders probably going Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud. They go Stroud. We have the Falcons going Anthony Richardson. So right now we have all pretty much the quarterbacks that are going to go already went, with Levis, Young, Stroud, and Richardson all in the top 8 picks. When this many quarterbacks go early, there's a lot of other good players that end up falling. Right now there's still Peter Skoronski on the board, Lucas Van Ness, Brian Branch, Paris Johnson. There's a lot of guys still on the board, and us picking at 15, we should be able to snag one of those guys. So the next picks off the board here, Peter Skoronski went right after that pick at pick 9 to the Carolina Panthers. Brian Breezy to the Eagles. The Eagles, man, such a great position with this top 10 pick in the Super Bowl. They are really built up for the future. Paris Johnson going to the Titans here at pick 11. I was hoping one of him or Skoronski fell to 15, but that is just not the case. Then back-to-back cornerbacks. Arguably the top 2 guys. Some argue one's better than the other, but Witherspoon and Gonzalez to the Texans there, and then the Jets, and then Brian Branch. I think I selected him in our first out of the 2 first-round picks in last mock draft. I do like Brian Branch. He does kind of fit in as more of that hybrid safety / nickel corner, whereas the Packers kind of do need more of a true deep safety. So he went to the Patriots here at 14. So we pick at 15 here. Quentin Johnston is on the board. Lucas Van Ness, Michael Mayer, Bijan Robinson. Just imagine if the Packers were to draft Bijan Robinson in the first round. Zay Flowers, JSN, Anton Harrison, Nolan Smith, Jordan Addison, and Broderick Jones. A lot of guys on the board here at pick 15. As for the trades available, teams that would want to trade with us in this scenario, Los Angeles Rams at 36 and the New York Jets at 43. I feel like that's going back way too far. If there was a team, say, around Seattle or Buccaneers here at 20 or 19, I would think about it, but trading back that far, just too much. And I believe also in my last draft, since I had 2 first rounds due to the trade, I did also draft Michael Mayer. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm kind of like on the fence with him because I feel like he could fall. And the fact that he's also a tight end could make him fall as well, because I feel like as of late, tight ends just, they don't go as much in the first round as they used to. People are starting to realize like the value of a tight end in the later rounds. And obviously positions like edge, wide receiver, and tackle are just way more valuable than the tight end position. And if we only have one pick in the first round, I feel like you kind of grab one of those positions. As for wide receiver, I really do like Quentin Johnston. I feel like this guy could be like a true #1 wide receiver eventually. And adding him to the group of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs would be something else. Lucas Van Ness is really sticking out to me here because there's a big drop at edge after that. Nolan Smith is still good. But Lucas Van Ness, I feel like, would help the Packers tremendously in that edge room. Zay Flowers, a receiver I really like kind of like a gadget yak guy that I feel like could excel in the Matt LaFleur offense. Usually not a guy that the Packers would typically draft, but I feel like he would work so well in this offense. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I feel like a lot of people are starting to have drop in their ranks. A lot of people are saying he's not a day one wide receiver. I mean, if you just look at his numbers, not from obviously last year because he was hurt, but the year before that, I mean, man, you cannot doubt those numbers, and he's still a really good wide receiver. Same with Jordan Addison. Both are just really good wide receivers here. But I do think my eyes here are set on Lucas Van Ness. I just think adding an edge here in the first round would really help the Packers. Edge is such an important position. As I always say, you can never have enough edge rushers. And here's what PFF has to say about him. Van Ness is an ascending power rusher with unique power and flexibility. When he wants to go through offensive linemen, he almost always can. He earned an 80.2 overall grade in 2022 with 46 pressures on 271 pass rushing stats. And if we go look at his stats there's that 80.2, 74.3 pass rush grade, a nice run defense grade, 80.9, really high pass rush win rate at 18.8%. As we see here, 9 sacks in 2022, 4 sacks in 2021. Overall, just a very powerful edge player, and I feel like would be good for the Packers in terms of the pass rush and then also for run defense. I feel like he can kind of do both of those things. Being 6'5", 269 pounds kind of fits that Packers mold there at edge. Getting him in the building to pair with Preston Smith, Kingsley Enagbare, and then once Rashawn Gary comes back, having a really, really nice rotation of edge players, I think is key. So with this first pick in this mock draft, we are going Lucas Van Ness, edge out of Iowa. Then to quickly go over the picks to round off the first round, Quentin Johnston went to the Commanders right after us. Broderick Jones to the Steelers, Zay Flowers to the Lions, Michael Mayer to the Buccaneers, Anton Harrison to the Seahawks, Joey Porter Jr. to the Chargers, Jordan Addison to the Ravens, JSN to the Vikings. Oh man, I'd hate that. Gosh, I would hate that. Antonio Johnson to the Jags, Bijan Robinson to the Giants. No idea why they'd do it, but I mean, imagine Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley in the same backfield. Cam Smith, corner to the Cowboys, Osiris Torrance to the Bills, Will McDonald IV to the Bengals, Nolan Smith to the Broncos, Andre Carter to the Chiefs, and Trenton Simpson to the Eagles. Now we are picking at pick 45 here in the second round. The players on the top of the board: Josh Downs, wide receiver; Kalijah Cansey, defensive lineman; Cody Mauch, tackle here; Mozzie Smith, defensive lineman; Jack Campbell; Darnell Washington, who I know a lot of people like, so I definitely have my eyes on him. I know the Packers really need to rebuild that tight end room. And, drafting a tight end in the second round isn't as bad, especially when it's someone like Darnell Washington, who's just a freak of an athlete. If we look here at his profile here, I mean, he runs a 4.63 40-yard dash at 6'7" and 270 pounds, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's only 21 and a half years old. He would be an absolute unit in the Packers offense. The dude's a ferocious runner after, getting the ball in his hands, and he's really good in the contested catch situations. Josh Downs is definitely a very interesting prospect here, but I just don't really see him fitting the Packers mold that they usually draft in at wide receiver, being 5'10", 175 pounds. Personally, I think the Packers should add someone like this, but I just don't see Brian Gutekunst drafting such a small wide receiver, although I think he would be really good as a slot receiver for this Packers offense that they are missing because Randall Cobb's a free agent, really good against man coverage, and his contested catch rate also very good. He's a really good wide receiver, 1,000 yards in 2022, 1,300 in 2021. The guy just produces. Just a really, really good player, and 19 total touchdowns in the last 2 years as well. So with pick 45, I am going to do it. I'm going to draft Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. This guy, just an absolute beast. Reminds me a lot of Jelani Woods last year, who I really, really wanted on this Packers football team. And he's already looking like a pretty good tight end for the Colts there. Once they get a real quarterback, I think he will be a main target for that quarterback. So Darnell Washington here. Again, a lot of people will go, oh, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look at the tight end and whatnot, but Darnell Washington is just a freak athlete, a guy that you want to have over the middle of the field, great at contested catches. When you get the ball in his hands, the dude can break a lot of tackles and actually gain a lot of yak for the size he is. And like I said, the Packers tight end room super thin. They only have Josiah DeGuara under contract, the only guy with meaningful snaps at least. And just in general, I feel like he could be the replacement for someone like Mercedes Lewis, and an even better Mercedes Lewis than what he is now. I do believe they bring back Mercedes, but having a guy like this also in the building would help a ton for this offense, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love. So with this pick, at pick 45, I am going Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. So for our third pick at pick 78 in this mock draft, it's an easy one for me. Every time I'm here in the third round and I haven't selected a safety to this point, and Jordan Battle is sitting here, it's pretty much a send the card up right away situation for me, because I do see him climbing the board. I do see him being even a second round, and he could even get into the first round as well. Some scouting websites do have him as a late first, mid-second round player. And I really do like him, just a very high football IQ player here. As we see here, also versatile. He played mainly deep safety, which is what the Packers need, 574 snaps there, but also some box and some slot corner. This is a guy that can pretty much play anywhere. He could probably play cornerback in a real pinch here. 85.2 coverage grade. He does miss some tackles, but in general, he's just a very high IQ football player, which I just feel the Packers need at safety. He had 42 tackles, 8 missed tackles in 2022. He had a higher grade last year in 2021. But I think getting him here in the third round would be an absolute steal. Like I said, I don't see him falling to the third round. But if the Packers were to end up picking here in the third round and he was there, maybe this ends their third round curse. The last good third round pick was a safety in Morgan Burnett. So this could maybe, come full circle, end the curse if he was here in the third round and the Packers ran that card up for Jordan Battle. The Packers have a big need at safety. I think they got to draft 2 in this draft. In their 10 draft picks here. So with this pick, it's an easy one at pick 78. I am going safety, Jordan Battle out of Alabama. Here in pick 4 at pick 116, I'm looking at wide receiver here. Haven't drafted one in this mock draft yet. There's a few on the board I do like. There's Andre Iosivas, who's a really fast wide receiver. Tyler Scott, Marvin Mims, and Jonathan Mingo. Out of the 4, I like Marvin Mims the most. I believe I drafted him in my first ever mock draft. And if we go look at his stats here, a 77.1 receiving grade in 2021, 75.5 overall grade. 3 years of production at Oklahoma, that speaks volume. 610 yards in 2020, 705 yards in 2021, and 1,082 yards in 2022. So progressed every single year. Had 5 drops in 2022, 8.1 yards after catch per reception. He was tied for 5th in deep yards with 602. Overall, I really like him here. He's really young, almost 21 years old, so he can definitely grow as well. 5'11", 184. He has the versatility to play outside and in the slot. We see here 288 wide snaps and 126 slot snaps. Last year, he had more slot snaps, and the year before, he had more wide snaps before that. So he could definitely play both, and I think he would be a good 3rd or 4th wide receiver in this Packers offense if they decide to not retain Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, or bring in a free agent. I still think the Packers, could definitely sign a veteran free agent and also draft someone like Marvin Mims. So with this pick 116, I am drafting Marvin Mims, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. So here in the 5th round, the last round of this mock draft, we have pick 151. We also have 171, that comp pick. So here I'm looking at tackle, and Connor Galvin out of Baylor really sticks out to me. Seems like a true Packer lineman, and we all know there's death taxes in the Packers drafting a solid lineman in the 5th round. So looking at him, 6'7", 302 pounds. He's a redshirt senior, so he's a little bit older, but he could fit right in as a depth swing tackle, on the left side or even the right side as well. 77.7 overall grade. He did allow 4 sacks this year, 0 last year, an 80.0 grade, and then 5 sacks in 2020. He had a 74.3 run block grade, a 77.1 pass block grade. Overall, I think he's a very solid lineman. He could be a swing tackle, and in general, just having more depth at the tackle position can never hurt. So in this pick, I'm going to add another lineman for the Packers offensive line here. Connor Galvin, tackle out of Baylor at pick 151. So for our last pick in this 5-round mock draft, I think I'm going to look at the cornerback position. I think the Packers should add a corner at some point in this draft. Rasul Douglas is getting older. Eric Stokes just is going to be coming back from an injury. Of course, they still have Jai Alexander, and hopefully they do re-sign Keyshawn Nixon, who can play nickel corner in a pinch. But I think adding another guy as depth, I think is a good idea here. And DJ Turner out of Michigan definitely stands out to me. I think he's a good pick here in the 5th round. A 77.4 in 2022 and a 78.3 in 2021. This year, allowing 408 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 1 interception, only allowing a 68.3 passer rating. Last year, only allowing a 58.4 passer rating, 267 yards. He's an outside corner, can play a little bit of the slot, and mainly this is just to have another guy at cornerback as depth, which is a good thing to do. So in the last pick of this mock draft, pick 171, our compensatory selection in the 5th round, I am selecting DJ Turner, cornerback out of Michigan. All right, so that does it for this 5-round Green Bay Packers mock draft. Quickly going to go over all the picks we made. We didn't do any trades. I will be doing trades in mock drafts, in future mock drafts. I was thinking about doing it a couple times in this mock draft, but the right trades just didn't fall, and so I didn't do any. So here in the 1st round at pick 15, Lucas Van Ness fell to us. I think adding a guy like this into the edge room would help the Packers a ton. We saw late in the season without Rashawn Gary, there was virtually no pass rush on the opposing team, and your defense, if it can't get home to the quarterback, they're going to get torn up in the pass game. So adding someone Lucas Van Ness, you can never have enough edge rushers attacking the quarterback, and he's good in that regard as a power rusher and also against the run. In round 2, I did go tight end. I went Darnell Washington. Dude's an absolute athletic freak, almost 6'8", 270 pounds, is still pretty quick for that size. Great contested catcher, great with the ball in his hands as a yak tight end as well. Not really going to take the top off the defense or anything, but he's definitely a mismatch guy, and the Packers need that at tight end. They really do. So I love this pick here in round 2. I think he could go higher than pick 45, but if he's sitting there at round 2 for the Packers, I would love that pick there. Same with round 3. This is another pick I would really love in round 3. Jordan Battle. Don't see him falling to round 3. I see him going in round 2. And he's just an overall, all-around great safety. High IQ, can play the box, can play, slot, can play deep safety mainly. So in general, just all-around really good safety. The Packers obviously need that. I see them adding 2 safeties in this draft. They could even add 2 within the first 5 rounds. I didn't end up doing that, but getting Jordan Battle here is big. Then at round 4, we go wide receiver and Marvin Mims. I think this is the 2nd time I've drafted him in a mock draft. All around, solid production the last 3 years at Oklahoma. Can play slot, can play outside. Just a good depth wide receiver to have, and could end up being one of your main guys in future years. Connor Galvin here at tackle at round 5. Mainly played left tackle at Baylor, but he could definitely play right tackle for you. Could be a swing tackle. Good to have tackle depth with the unknown of the future at tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Then our final pick at round 5, a depth corner in DJ Turner. Was really solid the last 2 years at Michigan, and overall, the Packers having, just like tackle, having another depth corner I think is a really good idea here. So that does it for my 5-round Green Bay Packers mock draft. As we get closer and closer, I'll start doing 7-round mock drafts with a bunch of trades and all of that. So if you are interested in that, like I said, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and leave a comment showing your support, and I'll obviously keep doing these mock drafts and everything else Packers news as well. But that about does it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.